Hello, friends. Welcome to a journey that has the power to change your life. Today, we tackle a topic that almost everyone struggles with at some point, the crushing burden of perfectionism and the freedom that lies in letting it go. Imagine waking up, feeling as though nothing you do is ever enough, that everything you are needs to be more, better, perfect. This constant pursuit of an unreachable ideal becomes an invisible cage, keeping us from true joy. But what if I told you there was another way? A path where freedom isn't found in perfection, but in accepting its absence. We live in a society that relentlessly glorifies perfection. We see it in every Instagram feed, every flawless work presentation, and every decision that seems to carry the weight of our worth. Falling short feels like failure, and this mindset traps us in anxiety, fear, and burnout. But if we look to the wisdom of the past, the ancient Stoic philosophers, those great thinkers from Greece and Rome, offer us a way to break out of this trap. Their teachings, if we truly embrace them, can liberate us from perfectionism's chokehold. The Stoics didn't value perfection. They embraced imperfection as a part of being human and found strength, serenity, and genuine excellence in it. Instead of striving to be flawless, they focused on what they could control. This approach led them to true fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, said, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. It's our mindset, not circumstances, that defines our experience." Today, I invite you to let go of the obsession with perfection and thrive by embracing the wisdom of the Stoics. In this video, we will explore the teachings of the ancient Stoics like Seneca, Epictetus, and Musonius Rufus, and apply them to modern challenges. Whether it's a student paralyzed by fear of submitting an imperfect assignment or a professional endlessly tweaking a project, the Stoics provide us with a powerful roadmap for liberation. Focus on what's within our control and let go of what isn't. By doing so, we can live more authentic, resilient lives. Let's take this journey together. Chapter 1: Unmasking Perfectionism. The first step in freeing ourselves from perfectionism is to unmask it, to understand its nature and why it has taken such a strong hold on our lives. Perfectionism is the relentless pursuit of flawlessness, a refusal to accept anything short of ideal. It thrives in today's world, especially in the age of social media. Everywhere we look, it seems like people lead flawless lives, curated, edited, and filtered to present a perfect reality. These illusions make us believe we need to be perfect too, and we end up holding ourselves to impossible standards. But here's the truth. Nobody is perfect. Behind those filters and carefully crafted posts, everyone has insecurities, flaws, and struggles. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Society conditions us to believe that any flaw is a failure, making us fearful of mistakes and desperate to prove ourselves. We revise endlessly, push ourselves to exhaustion, and get caught in cycles of self-criticism. Let me tell you about Sarah, a young professional who worked tirelessly on a presentation. She doubted herself at every step, and even on the day of the presentation, she was still editing, obsessed with every word. The stress led to sleepless nights, and even after her presentation was well received, she couldn't enjoy her success. All she could see were the flaws. This is the cost of perfectionism: anxiety, exhaustion, and never feeling like you're enough. The Stoics, however, taught that the pursuit of excellence is noble, but perfection is self-torment. Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." To break free, we must cultivate self-awareness, recognize our perfectionistic tendencies, understand their roots, and gently guide ourselves toward more compassionate mindsets. Perfectionism often creates a vicious cycle. When we hold ourselves to impossible standards, we become afraid to even begin tasks, fearing that they will not meet our ideal. This leads to procrastination, which only adds to our stress. The more we delay, the more pressure builds until we are either paralyzed or push ourselves to exhaustion trying to catch up. By understanding this cycle, we can begin to dismantle it. Another common trait of perfectionism is the inability to celebrate our successes. Like Sarah, we focus on the few things that didn't go perfectly, rather than appreciating all that went well. This mindset robs us of the joy and satisfaction we deserve. The Stoics teach us that we must learn to appreciate our efforts and take pride in what we accomplish, regardless of whether it is flawless. Chapter 2. Embracing Imperfection. The Stoic way at the heart of Stoicism lies the profound acceptance of imperfection. Seneca famously said, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." True freedom begins here, when we accept our flaws and treat ourselves with the same kindness we offer others. Think of how you treat a friend when they make a mistake. You offer understanding, kindness, and perspective. But how do you treat yourself when you fail? Many of us are our own worst critics. The Stoics would challenge us to change this, to treat ourselves as we would treat a friend. Consider David, a university student who was always late submitting assignments because they never felt good enough. One day his professor told him, "Done is better than perfect." David began practicing self-compassion. He submitted his work, even if it wasn't flawless, and found that not only did he receive good grades, but he also felt a newfound sense of peace. He learned to accept himself as imperfect and realized that his worth wasn't dependent on being flawless. For the Stoics, embracing imperfection isn't about abandoning self-improvement. It's about setting the right foundation for it. Epictetus taught us to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. We can't control how perfect our work is or how others perceive us, but we can control our effort and attitude. This is where our real power lies. In focusing on what we can control and viewing imperfection as an opportunity for growth. Embracing imperfection also allows us to connect more deeply with others. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and open about our struggles, we create space for genuine human connection. People are drawn to authenticity, not to perfection. By sharing our flaws, we inspire others to do the same, fostering an environment of empathy and understanding. Chapter 3. Taking Charge. Focus on what you can control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple but profound insight lies at the core of the Stoic approach to overcoming perfectionism. Many of us struggle because we try to control things beyond our power. We worry about what others think, whether our work meets their expectations, or whether we've done enough. But the Stoics taught that trying to control these external things only leads to frustration. Instead, we need to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses. Take John, an artist who spent years trying to perfect his paintings before showing them to anyone. He feared criticism and judgment. One day he decided to change his focus. Instead of worrying about others' opinions, he focused on the joy of creating. He shared his work, and to his surprise, people loved it. By letting go of what he couldn't control, John found joy and strength in his creativity. By focusing on what we can control, our effort, our attitude, we free ourselves from the weight of perfectionism. We become resilient, knowing that even if the outcome isn't perfect, we have given our best, and that's enough. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of accepting the uncertainty of outcomes. We can do our best, but we cannot guarantee success, nor can we predict how others will react. By embracing this uncertainty, we liberate ourselves from the constant need to prove ourselves. We learn to take pride in our efforts, regardless of the outcome. Chapter 4. Loving the journey. Embrace the process. Another core Stoic teaching is to love the journey, to embrace the process instead of being obsessed with the outcome. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life." This encourages us to focus on the quality of our actions rather than striving for flawless results. When we become consumed by the need for perfect outcomes, we often forget to enjoy the journey. Imagine working toward a goal, whether a project at work, a fitness achievement, or organizing a family event. You're so focused on getting everything right that you forget to appreciate the experience. The Stoics encourage us to be present, to find joy in the process. By shifting our mindset from the outcome to the process, we create new possibilities. We are less attached to being perfect and more open to learning from our efforts, regardless of the result. Excellence isn't about flawlessness, it's about engagement, depth, and authenticity. Think of Maria, a runner training for her first marathon. Initially, she was obsessed with finishing in a specific time. She trained intensely, but the pressure took away her joy for running. Then she decided to change her approach. She began focusing on the experience, enjoying her runs, feeling the wind on her face, and celebrating every small victory. On marathon day, she didn't meet her original goal, but she finished with a smile, feeling fulfilled and proud. By embracing the process, Maria discovered the true joy in her journey. Chapter 5. Cultivating Growth, Self-Improvement. Through Stoic Practices. You may wonder, if we embrace imperfection, does that mean giving up on self-improvement? Not at all. The Stoics were advocates of continuous growth, but they understood that growth is not about perfection. It's about aligning our actions with our values and striving for excellence with compassion. For the Stoics, self-improvement is about process-oriented goals. Instead of aiming to be perfect, we focus on daily actions that lead us forward. Whether it's practicing a skill, developing patience, or taking time for self-reflection, Stoicism teaches us that setbacks are opportunities to learn, not signs of failure. Think about Amy, who wanted to improve her public speaking skills. At first, she avoided opportunities to speak because she feared mistakes. But with a Stoic mindset, she shifted her focus. She took every opportunity to practice, even if it wasn't perfect. She stumbled, learned, and grew. Today, Amy speaks confidently, not because she's flawless, but because she embraced her imperfections as part of the journey. Another important aspect of self-improvement is setting realistic expectations. The Stoics knew that growth takes time and that setbacks are inevitable. By setting achievable goals and being patient with ourselves, we create an environment where growth can flourish. Self-improvement is not about instant success. It is about consistent, incremental progress. Chapter 6. The Power of Reflection and Lifelong Learning. Reflection and continuous learning are crucial elements of the Stoic journey. Overcoming perfectionism isn't a one-time change. It's an ongoing practice of deepening self-awareness and staying open to growth. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The Stoics embodied this idea. They believed in regular self-examination. Taking time each day to reflect allows us to recognize where perfectionism is holding us back and make better choices moving forward. Imagine setting aside 10 minutes each evening to journal. What went well, what challenges you faced, and how perfectionism influenced your thoughts. Over time, this practice can help transform your relationship with imperfection. The Stoics also emphasized lifelong learning. As Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Growth comes from seeking new perspectives, learning from failures, and continually striving to improve, not from being paralyzed by the fear of not being perfect. Consider Anna, a teacher who felt overwhelmed by the pressure to be the perfect educator. She decided to adopt a mindset of lifelong learning. Instead of striving to be perfect, she focused on being open to feedback, learning from her students, and continuously adapting her teaching methods. This shift not only made her a better teacher, but also brought back her love for the profession. Lifelong learning is a powerful antidote to the stagnation that perfectionism brings. Chapter 7. Finding Balance, Excellence versus Perfection. A key lesson from the Stoics is to understand the difference between excellence and perfection. Striving for excellence means doing your best with what you have, setting realistic goals, and being open to growth. Perfection, on the other hand, is rigid and unattainable. The Stoics encourage us to pursue excellence while letting go of the impossible standards of perfection. Think of Hannah, a chef who always wanted every dish to be flawless. She was constantly frustrated because no matter how hard she tried, something always felt wrong. But when she shifted her perspective to excellence, she focused on creating dishes with passion and creativity. The result? Her food became more joyful, her stress decreased, and her customers could taste the difference. Excellence is about embracing the imperfections along the way. Striving for excellence also means being adaptable. Life is full of unexpected challenges, and perfectionism often leaves us rigid and unable to cope with change. When we pursue excellence, We remain flexible, adjusting our efforts as needed without being discouraged by setbacks. This adaptability is crucial for long-term success and fulfillment. Chapter 8. The courage to be vulnerable. Perfectionism often hides behind the fear of vulnerability. We're afraid to show our true selves, flaws, quirks, and all. The Stoics taught that true strength comes from embracing vulnerability. Being vulnerable means being honest about who we are, including our imperfections. It means having the courage to show up, even when we aren't perfect. Consider Adam, who wanted to start his own business, but feared failing. He felt that unless everything was perfect, he shouldn't even try. But when he embraced vulnerability, he realized that taking the leap, flaws and all, was part of the journey. He learned, grew, and eventually succeeded, not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to be imperfectly himself. Embracing vulnerability also helps us build deeper connections with others. When we let down our guard and share our authentic selves, we invite others to do the same. This fosters trust, empathy, and a sense of belonging. True strength lies not in pretending to be perfect, but in having the courage to be real. Chapter 9. Freedom through acceptance. The ultimate lesson of Stoicism in overcoming perfectionism is that freedom lies in acceptance. When we accept ourselves, our strengths, weaknesses, successes, and failures, we free ourselves from the exhausting pursuit of perfection. Acceptance is not resignation. It's understanding that we are enough as we are while still striving to grow. Think about the peace that comes when you let go of needing everything to be perfect. Imagine the weight that lifts when you decide that what you have done is enough. This is the freedom the Stoics promise us, the ability to live authentically, courageously, and joyfully. Acceptance also involves recognizing that our worth is not tied to our achievements. We are valuable simply because we exist. By embracing this truth, we can let go of the constant pressure to prove ourselves. We can focus on living a meaningful life rather than chasing an illusion of perfection. Embracing imperfection for a fulfilling life. As we conclude our exploration of Stoicism and perfectionism, reflect on the gifts of Stoic wisdom, cultivating self-acceptance, focusing on what we can control, finding joy in the process, practicing compassionate self-improvement, and committing to lifelong reflection and learning. These are the keys to unlocking our true potential. By embracing these principles, we free ourselves from the tyranny of perfectionism and live with authenticity, resilience, and joy. Life is not about being flawless. It's about showing up, being present, and finding meaning in each moment. Onward, my friends, to an imperfectly perfect life. Embrace your flaws and quirks. In doing so, you honor the wisdom of the Stoics and tap into the limitless potential within you. The path may not be perfect, but it is beautifully, profoundly ours. Remember, the journey of overcoming perfectionism is not a linear one. There will be moments of struggle, times when the old habits resurface. But with each step, each effort to shift your perspective, you move closer to freedom. Let us all commit to embracing the messy, beautiful process of being human. Let us find strength in our imperfections and courage in our vulnerability. The true essence of life is not found in being perfect, but in being fully, authentically ourselves. Let's walk this path together, imperfectly but wholeheartedly,